Don't run. Oh, sorry. Oh, there's the white one.
Guard me, brothers! Guard me, brothers! Here it comes. Seize him! To arms!
Alright, crap. Give me a second. Oh, I thought I paused. I'm just hanging there for a second. My fucking throat was feeling dry. I was like, okay, I'm gonna start coughing like a sumbitch. You grab a hard candy so I have something to help out with that. Now, I feel like we're approaching the end of this game because this feels climactic now. But if this is the case, I have some things to be saying when we get to the credits. Nope, range support dies first. Was Oshol like already gone? Damn, no sip for me.
Suddenly and inexplicably, I discovered the Reaver suspiciously laid across my path. Again, I sensed nothing of that temporal distortion, the peculiar sense of displacement I had felt when I encountered the Reaver in William's chapel. Cornered here with the blade, I suffered the same nameless dread that I had experienced when Janos first presented the Reaver to me. I felt at once repelled by the blade, and yet overwhelmingly compelled to seize it.
So, Raziel, here we are, finally. You have no choice but to confront me now, and I am not so foolish as I've let you believe. We have business to conclude.
You knew I would lead the Sarafan to Janos, you vile bastard. You've been orchestrating my every move. My destiny is an amusement to you.
It was fun while it lasted. I think not, Raziel. Malik, do not let this creature leave. He poses a danger to the Circle. Poor, deluded Raziel. Did you somehow imagine you had the guile to change history on me? I'm the Time Streamer. I knew your every intention before you did, you imbecile.
They can feast on your corpses!
Lord Mobius, there is trouble within. The Circle is under
Hold
attack.
fast, Malik. This one is the real danger to us.
What are you trying to concoct here, Mobius?
You toxic creature. Did you imagine I'd simply allow you to run loose, corrupting everything you encounter?
I admit that I've underestimated you to this point, Mobius. But it's a mistake I won't repeat.
Wrong again, Raziel.
Got me wondering how literally do you mean that or not.
The door.
Using his staff to disable my Wraithblade, Mobius effectively disarmed me, leaving me with only one choice of weapon. And yet I confess, it was not the lack of options, but blind rage that made me take up the Reaver. In my fury, it felt as though my hand had acted of its own will. And now, that same hand clutched the hilt with unyielding strength, and I felt a constrained tingling, a remote but palpable sense of longing, as the disabled Wraithblade tried vainly to embrace its physical twin.
Oh, I has sword now.
Come to take your revenge, demon. Back to hell with you!
I recognize these two as my former brethren, in life as Sarafan, and in unlife as Cain's vampire sons. Melchiah and Zephon, the weakest of Cain's brood. These bastards had no idea what future lay in store for them, how they would become the very thing they so despised. The Reaver hummed with ravenous anticipation. Janos had called it a vampiric blade, endowed with the power to drain its victims of their lifeblood. I was eager to see what the Reaver would do to these two.
Alright, dude. Guys? Wait, my health's not going down. Is this basically a scripted event now? Can I not die? Alright. Okay. Guys, you're getting really fucking annoying right now. Okay, so I have no range attack. It's just... Oh, this is not a... Quit blocking. Dude, seriously, quit blocking. Just die already.
And Zephon fell before my blade. I felt the Reaver's bloodthirst as keenly as I ever had when I was still a vampire. I could sense the boundary between us dissolving. The Reaver was consumed with my rage, and I was intoxicated by its bloodlust. The blade had a vitalizing effect on me. My physical energy no longer decayed over time, and the wounds inflicted by my foes healed almost instantly. The Reaver had made me invincible.
Okay, so at least the game acknowledges this. I was kind of concerned. Okay. Is this the way out? Or is this how I came in? This is how I came in. I think.
Have you come to reclaim the monster's black heart?
You'll have to get through us first.
My former brethren, Duma and Rahab, confronted me next. This all seemed so elegantly choreographed. Exhilarated by the Reaver, I was drunk with revelations. I could finally appreciate the delicious irony of Cain's blasphemous private joke, and I reveled as I colluded with him across the centuries. For it was I who put these bastards in their tomb, thus providing the corpses for Cain to raise as his vampire sons a millennium from now.
Right. Use the dodge button, damn it. You know, I wish this was more epic, but the combat in this game has always been clumsy at best, and this is just emphasizing it.
Get back to the pit you crawled from, demon.
And here at last was my brother Turel, who along with Duma would bear me into the abyss without questioning Kane's
Oh
command.
yes, the only one I haven't fought before.
So dutiful and righteous, even as a vampire. I guess some habits die hard. The vampire Turel had eluded my vengeance. The Sarafan Turel would not.
Yeah, a lot easier when you're not being attacked by on both sides by two enemies. Yeah, that's not the direction it's supposed to go. Pay attention. This way? This door's open, so. This is gonna be a short stream. I really hope there was more to this, more left of the game than, well, 20 to 30 minutes of not boss fights.
So, vampire, here we are. You've destroyed my brethren, and now you've come for me. You'll find I'm not such easy prey. I don't want to kill you, but I will if I must. Return the heart to me, and we can end this now. So, you've come to avenge that filthy parasite and reclaim his foul heart. You're a righteous fiend, aren't you? Apparently I am. No, vampire. This is where it ends. But you won't be leaving this room. Now, let's finish this. I'll make it mercifully quick. As you did for Janos? No, that beast had eluded us for far too long. It would have been a shame to end him too quickly. It's ironic, really. The great Janos Ordrin turned out to be no challenge at all. Thanks to you. Did you hear his cowardly screams when I tore that black heart out of his carcass?
Oh, you're actually doing... Okay, that's not fair. You auto-track when I circle you. Come on. Okay, that looked more like you stabbed him in the dick.
You. And so it ends. My history comes full circle. Sensing its twin, the Wraithblade uncoiled itself from me, and instead wound lovingly around its former self. I felt its grip loosen, and as the blade left me, its absence chilled me more than its presence ever had. A foreboding sense of emptiness and loss stole over me, and a terrible revelation gathered like a storm at the edge of my awareness. With all other foes exhausted, the conjoined blades turned themselves on me, and I realized, finally, why I had sensed nothing when Janos offered me the blade. The Reaver was never forged to be a soul-stealing weapon. The ravenous, soul-devouring entity trapped in the blade was, and always had been, me. This is why the blade was destroyed when Cain tried to strike me down. The Reaver could not devour its own soul. The paradox shattered the blade. So, this was my terrible destiny. To play out this purgatorial cycle for all eternity. I could not bear it. Despair overwhelmed me. You. Are you enjoying this game? Don't fight it, Raziel. Give into it. Was this your destiny for me all along? Trust me. I felt myself weakening, unable to hold on any longer. The Reaver was too strong. The compulsion to simply let go, too great. And then, a growing sense of vertigo and the familiar displacement. The paradoxical moment when my twin soul hovered both outside and inside the Reaver blade. This was the instant, the glimmer of temporal distortion Cain had been counting on all along. This was the edge of the coin, the minute flicker of probability upon which Cain had gambled everything.
Yoink!
Now you are free to reclaim your true destiny, Raziel.
Behind Cain's eyes, I could see new memories blooming and dying as history labored to reshuffle itself around this monumental obstruction. And I could see by the dawning horror on his face that perhaps we had strained history too far this time. That by trying to alter my fate, he may have introduced a fatal paradox.
My God. The Hilden. We walked right into their trap. Raziel, Janos must stay dead.
But Cain's warning was lost as I slipped into the spirit realm, too weak to maintain my physical form. And there, waiting for me as always, was the Reaver, the Wraithblade, my own soul, twinned and bound eternally to me. And I realized that I could never escape my terrible destiny. I had merely postponed it. History abhors a paradox.
Oh, okay. That's great. Yep, that's the end of the game. Okay. I've got some thoughts I need to express here. Now, all right, let me turn the music down a little bit now. Okay. Now, the story and the acting of this game, I think, are very good. The plot's interesting. There's some interesting philosophical ideas. And all of the acting is on point. Everyone does a fantastic job. I came to a realization last night as I was... Honestly, I wish I really had just had the time to spend the next 30 minutes and just finish the game. But I came to this realization last night. This game is one fucking hallway. It is literally just a singular hallway that you traverse backwards and forwards about 4 times. And I don't mean that like the regards of like some kind of abstract, you know, life is a linear path. No, I mean literally, it is a single hallway. You go from the Seraphim stronghold to the wilderness, to the pillars, to the subterranean ruins, to the swamp, the mountain pass, Janos Orchard's retreat. There is no branching. It is just a winding hallway. That's the entire game world. Like, I hate to say this, I feel classic Mario games are less linear than this. What's even worse is that, you know, they have time periods. So initially you go through that when everything's like, it's spring, everything's nice. So you go all the way up to the swamp, and you can't progress any further, so then you turn around and you come back. Also, goddamn, this is still loud. Okay. You progress all the way to the swamp. You do the temple there. So basically, it's a hallway with 4 puzzle boxes at specific points, but that's as far as it branches, and I don't really consider that much of a branch. So you do the Shadow Temple, then you backtrack to the Seraphim Stronghold, you do the Light Temple, finish backtracking all the way to the place where you started the game, you time travel, and then you go forward again through the same wilderness and terrain you just explored, just now it's stormy and dark and you can't see any fucking thing, being attacked by demons. You progress all the way to the swamp and find out, okay, cool, now I can progress past the swamp into the mountain passes. You go into the mountains, through the ruined village, to Janos Orchard's retreat, realize, okay, I can't progress any further here. You find the Wind Temple, you do the Wind Temple, and after you got the Wind Temple done, you then backtrack to the swamp, do the time warp again. You are now in the wintry cold past, and you now, again, go back the way you just came, but in a different time period, so it looks different, but it's the same fucking geometry, the same geography, all the way to Janos Orchard's place, which is another big puzzle box dungeon, where you get the fire power up, and then from there, you just backtrack the entire length, all the way back to where you started. This game is a single hallway you backtrack back and forth across like 4 times. So, I feel by comparison to Soul Reaver 1, this is a massive downgrade in like gameplay. The combat is, I feel, clunkier, which is impressive actually that it feels worse than the first game, because the first game's combat was clunky to start with. But there's no exploration. It's just... It's literally one fucking hallway you go back and forth across like 3 or 4 times. I mean, I suppose if I wanted to be simplify it, you know, all games can be described as a series of hallways, but At least there's branching hallways that break off from each other. There's exploration to be done sometimes, you know? In the first game, there were places which you had no need to go to. These like videos? No, they're not. Sure, I'll play this again.
Cain is deified. The clans tell tales of him.
Wow, that's a lot
The
louder.
truth. He was mortal once, as were we all. However, his contempt for humanity drove him to create me and my brethren. I am Raziel, firstborn.
Okay, so continue my conversation.
I stood with Cain
So,
and my brethren at
in the first
dawn of
game,
Empire.
There are side areas that are
I have
not
served
plot
him
relevant you can
for
explore.
millennia.
One of which I actually did find, which was the
Over
human
time,
settlement.
We became less human and more.
There is no reason to go there. That you just go there to find stuff, just to explore. That's
Cain would enter the
completely
state of
optional.
change and emerge
There
with
is
a
no,
new gift.
at least not that I noticed, there were no optional side paths in this game. It was all
Some years
straightforward,
after the master,
just
our
progress.
evolution would follow. Until I had the honor of surpassing my lord.
And outside of, I think, one instance, only one of the puzzles, like, really baffled the fuck out of me, so... I don't know if that's just because I grasped them better or they're better designed. That might be a thing. Or possibly the puzzles in the first game were more complex. I really don't know. This game has no boss fights. That's a downside, I'd say, but the game also doesn't have any... doesn't really have good combat to start with, so that's not really a downside. Like, I appreciate the fact that the first game did have boss fights. Even if they were largely simplistic puzzles. It gave a sense of completion to each of the areas and parts of the game.
There was only one possible outcome. My eternal damnation.
I don't know. I'm really hoping Legacy of Kain Defiance is a more satisfying experience. Because otherwise, right now, I'm feeling like I could have just watched all the cutscenes on YouTube, and that's basically the peak experience of Soul Reaver 2.
Cast him in.
You get all the story, all the plot, which is the good parts, but the gameplay, which is largely lackluster, you don't have to worry about. I feel Soul Reaver 1 is a worthwhile game to
Burning
play.
with white-hot fire, I plunged into the depths of the abyss. Unspeakable pain, relentless agony. Time ceased to exist. Only this torture and a deepening hatred of the hypocrisy that damned me to this hell. An eternity passed, and my torment receded, bringing me back from the precipice of madness. The descent had destroyed me, and yet I lived.
Raziel, you are worthy.
I have such mixed feelings about this game at this point, I'll be honest. But, hey, it is what it is. This is the opening week from Soul Reaver 2? Yeah, well. Outtakes?
The making of Soul Reaver.
Soul Reaver. I feel an obligation to work out since I'm Soul Reaver. So when the time comes I really meet everybody, I'll be able to wear tight black outfits. And they won't feel so terribly disappointed to see that it's the 60-year-old cocker doing this voice. I had to go out and buy a PlayStation. They sent me Soul Reaver.
Right.
So I went out to buy PlayStation.
Right.
And we hooked it up in the house, and then I started it. Because I never played a game like this before. I played a game, period, other than, Knick Knock or that little Pac-Man or something.
Right.
And it's extraordinary. The opening's really extraordinary with the wings and the ripping and the throwing down of the abyss. And
Right.
now I'm getting into the labyrinth. 2 hours later, I still am nowhere. He keeps falling off the rock, and I can't work it to get him on the rock. And my daughter is sitting in the bed. She says, "Dad," I said, "leave me alone. I'm going to do this." She said, "But I can." I said, "Leave me alone." And 2 hours later, I look up and I realize it's 2 hours has gone by, and it felt like I was there for 5 minutes. And I have gone no further. And I wanted to get into the other things. I wanted to see, because I did several other voices, I wanted to get, couldn't do it. And I said, I can't do this. So when I went downstairs, I came back up, and I looked, and she's already well beyond me. And I said, so there's got to be a chip that the kids have in their heads that some of us don't have from another time in our existence.
Yeah.
This is a CD-ROM?
This is a video game for the PlayStation 2.
There's a lot of talk for a video game.
It's a story-based game.
Yeah. I'm so used to sort of doing 5 lines.
Is that Renee
Don't go through
Aldridge
that
Long?
door! Don't go through that door!
Yes, it is. Oh,
Don't go
shit.
through that door!
There's more to being a vampire than drinking blood and ripping out throbbing hearts. Trust me, doll.
I'd see this less as outtakes and more just the voice actors goofing off, which is still great to see. Anyways, hey, so hey, we're done with Soul Reaver 2. I don't know when I'll get around to doing Legacy of Kain Defiance. I am not doing Blood Omen 2. I have looked at footage of that game. I'm not usually the kind of person to go, you know what, that game looks ugly, I don't want to play it. Because, I mean, I'm the kind of guy that finds, like, old PS1 chunky, ambiguously sex triangle polygons kind of charming. Blood Omen 2 just looks fucking ugly. Like, it's too well modeled to be a PS1 game, but it's a trashy looking PS2 game, and I just can't. I cannot. Like, at the very least, I can say, this game looks great, which is also baffles me. How good this game looks. Blood Omen 2 came out later. Like, a year later. I know it was a different team working on it, but... And I'm sure it's a fine game, but literally the visuals are just like, okay, this sits somehow in that weird uncanny valley area where it's like, it's not a it doesn't have the PS1 game charm, but it looked like a PS2 game. I don't know how to feel about it, and it just does not agree with me visually, like, not at all. So, we're not touching that. I might actually go back and play the original Legacy of Kain at some point. I mean, it's a top-down kind of adventure game, looks kind of Diablo-ish, so, I mean, that might be something I do, but I don't know. But I will do Legacy of Kain Defiance, I just don't know exactly when. Should I stream something else today, or should I just call it here? I'm still sick, I probably should just call it here. Well, thanks for hanging out, everybody, and listening to me just rant about this throughout the credits. I kind of want to go back and play Soul Reaver 1 now. I appreciate that game more. Later, everybody.